Network. Dr. Ruth Anderson and Sue Broome here for Messages from Your Loved Ones. We're glad to have you here with us. And today we are going to be spending some time talking about some things that have come up in meditation, but we're also going to be looking for you to participate with us. And so what we mean by that is if you want a message from someone that you have loved and lost, please type their information, their name, in the comments here, and we will respond to that. And when we do that, we sit in the energy of you and that person. And Sue uses a deck of cards that she created. And we go through that. And then I just kind of tune in and see if there's something that I'm receiving as well. So we're glad you're here. And as I said, if you want to hear a message from someone that you've loved and lost, just put their information, their name in the comments, and we'll get to you. But first, I wanted to open up with two different pieces of information from some meditations that we've been doing recently here on Enlightened World Network. On Wednesdays, Terry and Angel and I do something called meditation excavation. And that's where we simply just sit together, go into meditation, and we share with you everything that Spirit is showing us at the moment. And on July 2nd, in this meditation, they took us energetically to what we call the river of life. And we know that it is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a metaphor, if you will, that everyone who is alive here in the 3D is in this river of life. And sometimes we see folks on inner tubes, or sometimes they're standing or hanging out in their pods of groups. But what was really interesting on this one was, as I was watching, I saw archangels, many of them that we work with, lined up along the bank, and they were handing out, they were like stone tablets, like about this big, but they were carved. So it was like a message, but it was on stone, which I thought was interesting. And it was a message from the Creator. It was an invitation from the Creator. And so I said, what's on the invitation? And they said, it is an invitation for anyone who is interested in transitioning. They said, this is a good time. And it was kind of fascinating. It was like, oh, so we might be expecting what I would call a mass exodus from folks in spirit that are ready to move on. And the part of the message that came with that was there's no shame, there's no blame, it's just a personal choice. And so for us that choose to stay here in the 3D, for us to be the most supportive of those we love, it's not blaming, it's not shaming, it's not saying, how can you do this to me? It's understanding that as spirit, we all have choices to make. And that's one of your choices, is when you're going to be transitioning. So, Sue, what do you think of that thought about a mass exodus?
I believe that is, I feel it also, but from a different way. You and I have talked about some things, which I'm not going to bring up here, but I do feel that makes sense to me. And I look at it from the perspective that, yeah, it's not a cop-out. If somebody wants to leave, it's because what you came here to accomplish, you are complete with that, where you are, whether you have completed what you set out to do or not. There's a completion that at the soul level is going on. So if, for as an example, you go to high school, and there's 4 years of high school, and at the end, that's 4 years and you graduate, but maybe you get to a point where, you know what, I'm not learning anything anymore for the next 2 years, and I have to leave and go learn it a different way. And I think, oh, and I'm getting such chills on this. So I think where people are coming from, the souls are coming from, is they feel they have accomplished as much as they can here. And now it's time for them to go to the next level, whatever that is for them. But it's not here in the 3D. And I think the people that are still here to help not only prepare them, if there's anything that we can do, but prepare the people that are left.
Mhm.
And I actually have an interesting situation that kind of falls into this category right now that's going on.
So you've got someone who's sort of on their way out.
It's a couple, and one of them has all of a sudden over the last couple of years, they've had some health challenges, but over the last month, they've had this and this and this and this and this and in and out of the hospital, and just so many things that were not going on before. And though they don't want to sign a DNR, they want to stay, is what they say. It doesn't look like that from the outside. And the partner, who I've talked to a little bit about this, it's like, well, they're not telling me that they're saying that they want to stay, but it's getting to the point where they are going to need some kind of assistance that I can't do. So I think that there's some fighting that's going on, and I think that that's also something that is going to come up for people. And again, I'm getting chills. So, and fighting from the perspective on a soul level, yes, they want to leave, but there's some 3D things that maybe they haven't quite worked out, and they might still feel that it is a cop-out.
Well, it's interesting when you say that, because sometimes when someone is working toward their transition, I've heard people say, what are they waiting for? Right? I mean, the whole family is together. And it's like, what are they waiting for? Sometimes what they're waiting for has nothing to do with themselves. It has to do with the people that are in the room or trying to get into the room, the healing that may need to take place. And then once that healing is done, then the person's good to go. So we never know really what someone's waiting for.
No, even after the fact, looking back, we might think we know, like, oh yeah, it's because, the long lost grandchild came home and, saw great granny, and it very well could be that. But there's all kinds of things behind the scenes that we'll never know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always kind of fascinating. I know with my father, I've told you, Sue, his last year of life was his best year of life. And during that time, he knew he was sick. He knew he was on his way out. And he healed relationships before he went. And literally that night that he passed, he healed his relationship with me and my sister. And it was the best gift we could have received. Had he died a month earlier, we wouldn't have had that. So we were really grateful that we were able to receive that he gave us that gift at the end.
And it's wonderful that you do look at it as a gift. And that's the other thing, to help people see that there are gifts when their loved one is hanging on or they're coming to terms. That's another thing for people that are left behind. when someone comes to terms with, yeah, I'm very comfortable with leaving. You know, I've done everything that I can. I think I have everything that I need to have in order. And I'm fine with it. And they're not afraid. But somebody here might be.
Right. For some reason, that's reminding me of when my friend passed. My friend Jeannie passed, and the 2 weeks leading up to her passing, she would ask, is this what it feels like to be getting ready to die? And nobody could say, yes, it is. And she was really not sure what she was feeling. She didn't know, is this something I'm going to get better from? Is this going to take me out? And I felt bad that I could not say. Well, what I said was, well, it might be. I mean, it could be. And so I at least validated that for her, but I felt bad I couldn't say, yeah, that's exactly what you're experiencing here. Because who knows? Who knows if that was gonna be, her time in 2 weeks. But I wish that I could have answered that one better for her.
Well, it's such a personal journey. So you can have it, twins, identical twins. And both of them maybe they have the same disease, they're in hospital beds next to each other. But each one is going through whatever they need to go through because it's their spiritual journey. So we can only tell people or share, well, these are the experiences that I've had with being with other people, with seeing other people in that situation. But for you, it's going to be what it is for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This other meditation I wanted to share with folks, Terry Angel and I yesterday in a silent meditation, we're receiving information, and I knew going into it that it was going to be about the flooding that was happening in Texas at Kerr County. And I could feel the Divine Mother was all over the situation. And it was interesting because what they had said to me in the meditation, because I was wondering, what was it like for those girls? They lost a couple of cabins of young girls. And I was wondering, what was it like for them before they passed? Like in that moment of, oh golly, this is happening. And the angel said, don't focus on the chaos. Don't focus on the fear. They said, focus on the breath. And so I sat with that and I thought, the breath. And they were showing me breathing as being silent and calm. And then the breath just sort of went out. But it was like, it was just calm. Like the moment of death was calm. But what we also saw was that there were angels, so many angels with everyone who was dealing with this flooding. But what we saw was that just a few moments before their bodies would go through that chaos of the death, each girl was invited by an angel to step out. And so they didn't actually experience that trauma. So that was a beautiful thing to see. They showed us the counselors. Two of them had passed, and what their souls were needing at the moment yesterday when they were sharing with us. And they said that the water carries the emotions. We saw crosses up on the hillside. And then last night in the news, I saw the crosses on the hillside. There's, I don't know how many crosses that are posted there. We experienced the grief of the parents and of the other counselors, the other camp workers, the survivor's guilt of those who made it out. What else? What they said was, we are processing them very quickly. They're with their loved ones. And we could just see that every one of the people that passed was with loved ones. They weren't in angst. They were fine. It's the folks left behind, obviously, that were struggling with it. We saw the land, and this was interesting because we saw that the water was still carrying the emotions of all of this. And then I saw the land, and I heard the land is not wanting to be remembered for the loss. The land is wanting to be remembered for the love that's been shared there over the years. There was such an immense feeling that the angels and the spiritual divinity were just holding space over that area. And my thought was, it's like they're not even breathing. And then my brain went, do angels breathe? I have to think about that one for a minute. But such a sense of holding space. And I asked, what can we do to support? And they said, hold space for the families and the rescue workers. So we kind of left it with that. Jesus came in. We saw him come in, and some of the girls were so excited to see Jesus. I mean, it was very sweet, very poignant to see that the girls are fine spiritually and know how devastated their families are. So that was yesterday's meditation.
Was there, you said that the water was holding the memory and the emotions. So was there a clearing of that the angels did as well?
You know, they were so busy with the girls and the families, we didn't see a clearing of the water. Doesn't mean it can't happen, doesn't mean it won't happen, or that we couldn't participate in that.
Right.
But I didn't see that.
Yeah, because that would be something that, anybody hearing this, besides everything that Ruth was just saying, I would say, send love to the water. That the energy of healing and love to the water, because it seeps down into Mother Earth, but it also, wherever it's going next on its route.
Right.
Because I don't know where it all flows, but yeah.
Well, and when you look at the first meditation that we had, which was an invitation to transition, and then to see so many people being removed during this flooding, I'm not saying that those girls were all saying, okay, I'll go. I'm not saying that at all. I just thought it was interesting timing on that.
Right. And people think that, well, they're kids, how could they possibly have worked through all, I think about my brother Chris, who, he was 4, he was 4.5 years old, and he had cancer. It's like, but just because he was 4.5, I mean, there's this picture of him where it's like, he is so wise beyond his years.
Mm.
It's just this picture that I absolutely love of him, that he's just like this wise old man in that little body. So just because they're a child doesn't mean they don't have the soul wisdom and completion that they need to transition, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Well, and I've heard too that sometimes a soul will come in and really what they're wanting to experience is just that time of the pregnancy.
Yeah,
That's all they're wanting to get out of it this
yeah.
time around. And so they take themselves out, but of course there's parents devastated and whatnot, but we just don't know.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point, because I have heard that as well. It's like, yeah, that's all I wanted, and then I'm out of here.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Julie Kiss is with us. Hey, Julie, if you'd like to hear a
Really?
message, please put a name there in the messages. Yeah, it's interesting. The family had a loss last week. Gentleman in his 70s lived next to the river, and he would mow his lawn and then he would dump the clippings into the river. And I guess they do that where he lives. And he did that and somehow ended up in the river. I don't know if he lost his footing on the bank or what happened there. And then the family came home and couldn't find him. And then they found him the next day in the river. Just so interesting to have so many water related passings right now. But a loved one reached out and said, did he do that on purpose? Like, was that a suicide? And when I felt into it, it was like, no, no, it really wasn't.
Well, I can't remember, and I know I've said this before, it's either Cryan or Abraham, I don't remember which one says every death is a suicide. It's
That's
like
Abraham.
Abraham, it's like, and that sounds very shocking to people, but on a soul level, and we, we're looking at it that that's that person, that's my friend, my spouse, my sister, my parent, whatever. It's like, no, this is at a soul level.
Well, and does Abraham mean by that that we all have control over our own timing of passing, do you think?
That's how I take it. That, I mean, so the way that I have heard, and I resonate with this, is we have so many checkout points,
Yeah.
exit points. And we can take, so I don't know what the magic number is on that, but we can leave at any point. And I think that our soul, like going back to, I think I've gotten everything out of this life that I can get. So yeah, I got an exit, and that this is my soul talking, I got an exit point coming up, so I think I'm gonna take it. So I think on a soul level, not on a conscious level at all.
Well, I think it's interesting. I had heard in meditation 9 that and I was told end points. So that's I just call them end points. But if you think there's so many possible times for endpoints to happen, like either at the time of conception or in utero or during the birth, or so many possible times that I would imagine some people could use up 8 of those times by the time they're 10. So is the next one it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and how I see it as, okay, so, and I'm sure many people can look back on their lives and say, wow, there was that car accident that I was in,
Yep.
that if, and I'm getting chills again, if it would have been a split second different, or right or left or whatever, I would have been a goner. And I think times like that, if you haven't decided that that's it, your angels are gonna pull you out of it. But I think that the way that we set them up is like bigger things that may happen, like an accident or an illness, or a cord getting wrapped around the neck, things like that. not falling out of a tree like some kids do. Okay, I did that a few times, but we're getting bucked off a horse.
Right.
So, yeah.
One of my favorite stories here in Colorado, sunny day, gentleman riding his motorcycle on the freeway, struck and killed by lightning. And you think, what in the what?
Right. Right.
What? That had to have been an end point because that just doesn't make sense otherwise. I don't know, fascinating. Julie Kiss would love to connect with her Uncle Tony.
Mhm. Well, and what's interesting is you talk about like a motorcycle accident. What if the contract for that person was that someone else needed an organ transplant? Oh,
Yeah,
that is intense.
yeah, that's crazy, huh?
Uncle Tony. Okay, I went for some reason. I went to some of the Italian food that we used to eat when I was a kid, the spaghetti house. Which, oh my God, they would make me gag now, but my brother Steve and I just love those spaghetti. All right, Uncle Tony, let's see what we got. Whew. Oh, here are the chimes.
Near my chimes.
I can hear yours. Mine have been going off every once in a while. Yeah, hearing the chimes. And this feels like it's you know, it's so much more. And I'm gonna bring in another depth to it today, which feels right, Miss Julie. So hearing things that either take you back to different memories with Uncle Tony, or somebody is saying something. So the chimes, the birds singing, maybe even thunder and lightning, because sometimes that does take you back to when you were a kid on the farm doing this. So all of that, but I also, the next layer that I'm feeling is the healing that occurs when you hear the chimes or the words, the comforting words, or the bird singing. There is a level of soothing healing that happens, that if you allow yourself to close your eyes, you will feel it resonate through your body and through your heart. As my chimes softly chime. Ooh.
I had to snicker when you said SpaghettiOs. I had just written down on my paper sausage on a bun with peppers and a tomato Creole sauce. I don't normally, Julie, get food that's that specific, but either Tony is wishing he had that, or that was something he enjoyed while he was here, or he's just showing you that in the ethereal realm, you can have whatever you want. It can be whatever you want. But feeling into Uncle Tony, I'm hearing laughter. And to me, that chimes. It's also like laughter. It's upbeat, it's high vibrational. But I also got with Uncle Tony. I think he liked to talk a lot. And I think he liked to talk about other people and would like laugh about maybe the foibles or the mishaps that somebody else had gone through. He just feels like a lot of life. He was just full of life, like good food and laughter and lots of good conversation. Okay, Julie said, OMG, Dr. Ruth. Okay, fill in the rest of the sentence, Julie. Tell us what you're connecting to there. Yeah.
So funny.
I think it's so interesting how when we key into people that are in spirit form, how we can sense who they were in person form. I think we carry a lot of those attributes with us as we go.
And I think that's true. And I think it's so, we know that it's them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, Julie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Uncle Tony there. So, Sue, July 2nd was your mother's passing.
Mhm.
Does it change for you year after year how that passing day impacts you, or is it always kind of the same?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I do think though, when I see, signs from her when I know she's around, which I know she's around all the time. I know she's around a lot. But I, I like to think, and I do feel that her and I would be good friends. Not just mom and daughter, because I mean, we weren't that far apart in age either, you know? I think would, we would get along.
I
So,
can imagine you two laughing together. I know you lost her, you were way too young to lose your mother.
and I don't remember her laughing, and people have told me that she had a great laugh, and I don't remember that.
Something to look forward to.
Mhm.
Yeah, beautiful. Julie said his favorite is sausage and peppers at our Italian feast. He always volunteered at the church and ate there every time.
So no SpaghettiOs, though that
No
was my
spaghetti.
Italian when I was a kid.
We needed to upgrade just a little bit, my friend. It,
Oh, no
Julie
kidding.
said the feast is this Friday. Oh, Julie,
It's
I
wonderful.
hope you can go. Just feel Uncle Tony there because he's going to be there. Have a sausage with peppers. On
That's so funny.
that is hysterical. That is hysterical. Okay. Stephanie Stafford said, "Can you try to reach my newly departed son, Tim?"
Hi, little Stephanie.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Jeanette, while we're doing this, if you would like a message from someone you've loved and lost, please put their name in the comments. We're glad you're here today.
Hey, little Steph. I feel your prayers of love. Wow. So what I'm getting from this is there's it's prayers, it's the when you're sharing things, happy stories with other family and friends. It's almost like how the sun is beaming up and you can see the rays. It's almost like all of this love that you are focusing on here is being amplified to him, and he can totally feel that. It does feel like he's sending you different signs or messages along the way, but they're pretty subtle right now, and they'll become louder. So they'll become more obvious is what I'm feeling. So, yeah, the prayers of love and the laughter, because I know you're a good laugher, Miss Steph.
Mhm.
That is absolutely, that's part of the expansion that is going on. So, there you go.
So, Stephanie, this is really interesting because the first thing I got was the American flag. And I know nothing about your son, Tim, but they just kept reinforcing that, even to the point of a flag draped on a coffin and like a little lapel pin flag and sense and order. And if I didn't know your son, I would think, was he in the military? But that's the only message that kept coming to me was the flag and sense and order. The feeling that I'm getting, I have learned that when folks that have gone through an illness or a traumatic pass on, sometimes they'll do what's called cocooning. And cocooning is when they're with spirit, they're with loved ones, and they're healing. And they might be healing from the illness, they might be healing from the passing or whatever they were going through. And it feels like your son is busy. And I think the reason you're not, like Sue had said, like he's not putting out messages to you so much yet, I think he's busy. I think he's healing. That's just interesting. Just a quick story. When my mother-in-law passed, it was about 3 weeks afterwards, and I was in a dream sort of meditative state, and I saw her lying down, and she was like swaddled. And I said, okay, what am I looking at? And I was told she was cocooning. And there was a guide there with her that he was male, but he looked old timey male, like he had an old timey uniform on from like one of the wars, old time. And he was there guarding her. He was there. One of her guides was just like glued to her. But yeah, that cocooning time and cocooning in our time could take years because there is no time in the ethereal realm. So when we try to put a figure to it, we really can't. But that's what it feels like to me. Like he's cocooning, he's healing, he's busy. So I'm sure you'd love to get some signs from him. And I believe you will. But I would love to know what I'm sensing with the flag. I don't know.
And I'm not getting anything on the flag. I can see it as you describe it, but, and yeah, stuff will have to fill in.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, the word that's coming to me, and maybe you said this word is honor.
I didn't say the word, but it's definitely part of it. Yeah. And honorable.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Other thoughts, Sue, while we're waiting for anybody else to join in?
No, I think just, going back to what we were talking about, the July 2nd meditation and the support that we can offer people. It's interesting, my neighbor that passed away a couple years ago. And he was in his, not that age has anything to do with anything, but he would say this with stuff that he'd hear. I'm glad I'm in my 80s. I won't be around much longer. But I started hearing comments like just little subtle things. And I just stuck them in the back of my head because I got the feeling that, and yes, his health was starting to decline as well. But it was a difference in things that he would say that I started to notice. So I think it's interesting and just being there to support people wherever they are.
And try to not take it personally. Yeah.
Because it's not about us, is it?
No. And if we were in that position ourselves, we would want our loved ones to just hold us in love and not try to make us feel guilty, not try to talk us out of it or whatever. It's absolutely everybody's personal decision.
Right. Well, and because going back to the time, we look at this, it's like with my mom, she died in 1974. It's like, well, that was a few years ago, but that it's not that long for her because there is no time.
Right.
So and that is just that kind of makes you go,
Yeah. You had said sometimes a person will decide that they've done everything they can do here. And I'm thinking of someone, a friend of Terry's that had passed last year, I guess it was. And everybody was shocked. But I mean, she was a spiritual teacher, she was really involved and seemingly quite healthy. And it was like, boom, she was gone. And what Terry really believed was that she believed she could be more helpful from the ethereal realm. So she was just moving on to her next assignment, her next role. So I think we might be seeing some of that as well, that some light workers might be going, yeah, I think I can be more helpful somewhere else. So something else to keep in mind.
I think that happens with animals as well. I have someone I know who one of their cats was a year and a half and gone.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, they're liking where they are now. But I felt like it was a female cat, like she could absolutely do so much more from the other side, not just for them and their homestead area, but and I feel like cats are connected to the Lyran planet Lyra. And so I think they have so much healing for the planet and working with the other cats that are here that I think she was absolutely, I can do so much more and it's okay.
Yeah. We don't often think about animals when we do this show here. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they come in with their own contracts, just like people do. So they might not, they might be here for 20 years, but sometimes they might not be here that long at all. I think Alyssa's, they both of them chose not to take these exit points, but when I was a kid, one of the few things that I do remember is when we had two black labs and they ran across the street after another dog. And it was, there was a car coming. And one got hit by the car, the other one ran into the car. And they were both, okay. They had some stuff going on for a while. But if especially the younger one would have chose, that would have been just devastating to me. She hung around though, because she was my only friend after my mom died, because I would sit on the back porch with my arm around my dog and talk to her, tell her all my woes.
Gosh. Was she your soul dog?
She was, and until she left, and when, because my dad sent the dogs away because we were moving into a different house, and I don't remember that at all. So I must have blocked that, 'cause I don't remember that at all. Yeah. But, and she was born in our breezeway,
Aw,
so, yeah.
too sweet. Yeah, I had a soul dog. His name was Bailey. Yeah.
I had a soul cat, Mr. Max. He's my buddy. But he and I had a past life in Egypt. He was a cool cat.
Very cool. All right. Well, it seems like the group is quiet, so okay. Well, we can wrap up, Sue. We'll just say goodbye to friends. Oh, wait. Stephanie said many thanks. She appreciates our input. Yeah. All right. Well, Sue, why don't we wrap up for today? And friends, thank you so much for being here with us. I hope you take good care of yourselves and know that we're thinking of you. So take good care. God bless. Thank you, Sue.
Bye.